Hello, everyone. This is Nayiri from Low Carb and Fasting. Okay, today's guest is from South Africa. She's a Banting diet coach. She's co-author of the book Banting 7-Day Meal Plans, and the second book that's also Banting Meal Plans, but the vegetarian version. Rita Venter, welcome to Low Carb and Fasting.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate being here. I hope we have a good chat.
We will. I'm looking forward to this, Rita. So, Rita, tell us about your personal story and what brought you to this healthy eating space.
My husband's just brought me a cup of tea. Thanks, love. I must say that it wasn't a matter of being altruistic or anything. I really started eating this way because I was jealous that my sister-in-law had lost so much weight, to be honest. So we were at my daughter's house and my brother and his wife arrived, and I said to them, my goodness, you're looking so fantastic. It wasn't really that they'd lost weight, but they were just radiating. Their skin looked good. Everything about them just looked unbelievably good. And then they told me about the Tim Noakes book, The Real Meal Revolution, and I decided that I'd do some research. You just live in a vacuum quite often. You don't realize that what's going on out there. So I did some research and I realized that this was the best diet for diabetics. And my husband is a diabetic. So I thought, well, this will suit us. And he went to China on a business trip, and then I cleaned out my cupboards. I threw out every single product. I think I was left with like 1 tin of tomatoes. The rest was all sugar-laden, flour, maize, soy, all sorts of things. So, and then I started this journey, and I started it for him, but I lost a huge amount of weight. So I went from being almost 90 kilos to being about 59 kilos at that stage. It was a huge amount of weight that I lost. And I decided that I was going to start a group on Facebook, obviously just because I thought, one of the big things when you start a new lifestyle like this is like, what can I eat? Is there a meal plan? I thought, well, there we go. There's a great way to start. And so I started a group called Banting 7-Day Meal Plans. I don't know if I gave it the right name or if we just have the right ethos and the right feeling in the group, but it grew to be 2.3 million members and still growing. And I think we're number 17 of groups on Facebook.
Large.
Yeah, so not nutrition groups, all groups. So, and we, what we also decided was that we wanted to bring low carb to everybody, because when I started low carbing and banting, it was very elitist. It was, you have to have grass-fed beef and you have to have, grass-fed butter, and that's just not attainable for somebody that lives in a shack. That earns minimum wage in South Africa, which is, probably a couple of US cents. It's not attainable. So what we started doing is speaking to people and encouraging them to eat what you can afford. If it's not grass-fed beef, but it is beef, it's still better than eating a potato. Or the other thing that we encouraged people to do was eat indigenous foods like tripe, and there's some worms that are in South Africa called mopani worms, that are very high in protein, and they're free. You take them off the trees, And so that's what we wanted to do. So we moved away from the elitism and we started introducing it to the people that really need it the most. Because, honestly, in days gone by, an indicator of poverty was starvation, and now an indicator of poverty is obesity. So because junk food and fast food is so cheap, so we decided we're going to move away from that. And I'll tell you, it's been an absolute eye-opener how people have lost weight, how they've improved their health, how their metabolic health has improved, how they no longer on metmorphin. It's humbling. Every day there's somebody else that humbles you.
I like that message, and I think it's a message that I always or frequently repeat in my social media posts. The affordability. This lifestyle has to be the right lifestyle for you, but it has to be affordable. There's no reason to go out because you've seen a video on low carb cooking or baking online to go out and try and access those exotic, what I would call exotic. I mean, some of my clients are from poorer countries in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
They don't have access to all these sweeteners and these other products but they think that this is what the diet is, and then they go, but it's not affordable. It is affordable if you stick to, as you said, indigenous foods and seasonal foods, and just keep it simple. You don't need specific ingredients. You don't need specific cooking equipment even.
No, you don't need any of that. You need to know that, you need to eat meat and vegetables, and that's it. You don't really need to eat anything else. And you know what's so weird is that people, I know that before I was banting, I never baked. And then I started banting, and then all of a sudden I had to bake like my life depended on it. It was just the weirdest thing. I didn't really eat cakes and sweets before that, but all of a sudden I found that, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that. And I think you almost get like peer pressure, when people start posting pictures of the things that they eat and the things that they like and all of that, then you think, oh, I'm missing out. But you're not, like just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Have good fats. If you can't afford nuts, because in South Africa, nuts are expensive, they really are. Except macadamia is not too bad because they grow them here. But, everything is imported, and with our exchange rate in South Africa, it just becomes unaffordable. So you just say to people, you don't need to eat nuts. We need to eat meat, and we need to eat leafy green vegetables. That's all we need to eat.
That's it. That's it. I agree. And the fat should come with the meat, ideally. So you don't even need that grass-fed butter in most cases.
They don't. So we quite often tell people to go to the butchery in their store and to go and get beef fat so that they can make tallow, and to go and get pork fat so that they can make lard, and use that to cook with, like our grandmothers did.
That's correct. Okay, so we have to stop here and kind of talk about the Banting diet, because many people are familiar with keto, low carb. What exactly is Banting? So where does that come from? Let's just cover the.
To me, keto and Banting are interchangeable. It's the same thing, because with you get various versions of Banting, like you get versions of keto. But ideally, with Banting, you keep your carb consumption to 25 grams per day. It's high fat and low carb. So, I was speaking to Jono, who was the co-author of The Real Meal Revolution with Professor Noakes, and he was saying that they were actually going to call it keto. And then just before they went into publication, they decided to change the name keto to Banting. So, I spoke to him years ago, probably about 10 years ago, and he said that, it was and I think if you speak to Tim Noakes as well, you'll also say all of a sudden Jono came up with this idea of calling it banting, and then it became banting in South Africa. But I mean, if you look at the principles of banting and look at the principles of keto, it's exactly the same thing, you know. And then, I mean, everything that, like, for instance, on our group, when people first started posting about the carnivore diet, oh, everybody freaked out. That's not banting. And we said, well, it's actually extreme banting when you think about it, because instead of it being low carb, it's actually no carb. So it's banting. It's just a very extreme version of it. And yeah, so it's basically the same thing. In South Africa, we call it banting. It was very much a swear word a few years ago, but everybody just knows banting, and you know, all the restaurants cater for banters, all the stores cater for banters. Everybody caters, and it's just become part of the vernacular, and we all just live happily ever after. So all that drama at the beginning, it's all gone because nobody's died. Because we were all told that we were going to die in 5 years, and 10 years later, we're still all alive. So, yeah. So that's what banting is, basically. I mean, it was a name that was popular in South Africa at the time. So that's why we've called our group Banting 7-Day Meal Plans.
It's interesting because it's just another word. Basically, it is ketogenic diet. And actually, it is becoming more popular and more accepted. Because I think for the last 2 years, the keto diet is apparently the most searched diet on Google. And so there is growing interest, which is very positive because it is going to change people's lives. It's going to change people's health outcomes. Now, you lost weight when you started Banting, right?
Yeah.
Now you lost weight. What happened to your husband? Because your husband is a type, you mentioned he's diabetic, but he's type 2 diabetic, just like me. And so
He lost weight. He lost a lot of weight. Yeah, and
how about his blood sugars? His blood sugars.
They stabilized completely. You know, his insulin use went from using, I can't even remember, it's such a long time ago, but he was basically using a lot of insulin, and it went down to almost nothing. You know, he was using the Act Rapid quite a lot, and then he was just basically using the long-acting insulin, and not much of the Act Rapid at all, you know. So it really worked for him. But you know what? It worked for us as a family. It worked, you know, because that's very important, because you need to make this your lifestyle, you know. Like, when people ask me, do you only eat banting food? I say, well, in my house, it's called food. It's not called banting food. It's just called food. So with him, it improved his health markers tremendously. Really, really, he did exceptionally well, and we were just so healthy, you know.
I think, you know, another thing, Rita, your group members probably complain of that, oh, people say this way of eating is too restrictive. What would you say to them?
You know, we did find that in the beginning, that people used to complain, oh, I can't eat this and I can't eat that. And then we sort of turned that over and we said, well, why don't you focus on what you can eat instead of focusing on what you can't eat? So every other diet that you've been on, you were the miserable person in the corner eating a steamed chicken breast while everybody else was enjoying their food. So now you don't have to be that. You're the one that can eat the beautiful fatty chops, you can eat the crispy chicken skin, you can eat all of that. So let's start focusing on what we can have rather than what we can't have. And I know that a lot of people demonize sweeteners, but I actually have found after 10 years of managing this group that they play a very important role as a bridge from eating very sweet things to eating to going into Banting. Because some people, I think it was Tim that said to me that it took him a long time to get off sugar totally, So I think that it builds a bridge, and we sort of say, and in South Africa, we've got so many products that are diabetic friendly, a proper Banting friendly, because not all diabetic stuff is friendly stuff is Banting friendly. So we've got a lot of products that have come onto the market in the last 10 years that will help people transition, and you'll find very soon that people's taste buds start changing. So they only have that for a short while and then they're off it. But I'd rather them have a bit of erythritol or stevia than going to get something that's sugary, like an ice cream or whatever that's sugary. So we also have to make this, like we said, it has to be accessible. It has to be something that people will succeed in the long run. Because if you make it too restrictive at first, they'll fail. They'll just say, no, well, I can't do this, and we have to understand everybody's human. We are all human, and we all have failings. And if that means eating a piece of chocolate, 75% chocolate, that it's got a bit of erythritol in it, more power to that person if it can get them to transition and to stick to this lifestyle and to improve their health. Yeah, and I mean that's what I always say. I mean, that you should be Banting because of your health,
Yeah.
and the weight loss is a bonus.
Right. So coming back to Banting, so we're talking about super low carb. So basically under 25 or 30 at most, maybe grams of carbohydrates per day, not per meal, per day.
Today,
And
yeah.
then, it's basically high fat and the rest is protein. Protein seems to stay constant, but for
and fat and protein go together. I mean, if you're eating meat, fatty meat, I mean, you can't eat the one without the other. So we take care of that. So what we encourage people to eat a lot, obviously, is leafy green stuff. Eat leafy green stuff. Count your carbs. You know what? Take responsibility and manage what you're actually eating. And you'll be surprised how much you can actually eat. It is, I can't, I mean, I have 30 grams of carbs per day, between 25 and 30 grams of carbs per day. And I manage quite perfectly, because I'm eating more. So what I also tell people all the time is when you have your meal, first eat your protein and your fat, because that is going to make you full. By the time you get your vegetables, you're not going to be so hungry that you're going to wolf those down. You're probably not going to say, oh, well, you know what, I think I'll leave the spinach for today. So there are so many ways to encourage people to stick within it. And obviously I do a lot of meal plans. So I post them out there, and I do meal plans that keep the carbs below 25, and people manage quite perfectly with them, and if they'll say, oh no, that's not enough food for me, then I'll just say increase your protein and increase your fat, but don't increase your carbs.
In fact, I mean, when I add up the carbs of all the vegetables I eat per day, they often don't even, I mean, that's all the vegetables I can eat, and they don't even come anywhere close to 25 grams.
I know.
From leafy
And a
greens
lot of
and
cabbage. Cabbage is a great one. I mean, lots of cabbage.
Broccoli and cauliflower, there's only so much you can eat. I mean, they are filling because of the fiber content, but you're not even going to get anywhere close to 25 grams. So
Yeah, but you know what? I think that it's overwhelming at first, because carbs are easy. When you're not Banting, carbs are an easy meal. You can make a sandwich. You can on the go. You can go and buy a hamburger, or everything is carbs, carbs, carbs. So, and it's fast and it's quick and it's easy. And that I think is the thing that gets most people. It's not so much that they don't want to do the lifestyle. It's just there's a little bit more effort that you have to put in, a little bit more planning, a little bit more, sort of moving the goalposts around. But you know what was quite interesting? The one day somebody said to me, "Oh, I could never. I mean, geez, how much cooking do you do?" And I said, "Wow, oh no, they'll just have a bowl of cereal in the morning." I said, let's time how much time it takes to make that bowl of cereal or to make an egg. And it was basically the same amount of time,
Same amount of time, and we also find that when people are eating, good sources of protein and fat, they're not hungry. They're not having meals
Ever.
in between meals. So
I know, ever, 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 ever. So I've got a new book coming out in September, and it's basically we actually calling it keto and fasting. So we're teaching people how to fast as well. And you'll find that most people are fasting without even knowing that they're fasting.
yeah.
Because it's like, oh, what do you mean I've got to fast? And I'm like, well, how often do you eat? What time do you eat first in the morning? About 11-ish. And what time do you have your last meal? About 7. They was like, well, then you're fasting, and it's just wrapping your mind around this new terminology that sounds bizarre, but actually you're doing it already. You are fasting. Yeah, it was quite funny. We've got a lady that works at our hardware store, and I went in there and I looked at her and I said, "My goodness, you've lost so much weight." She said to me, "Yeah, she's lost 56 kilos." I said to her, "Wow, what did you do?" She just fasts. That's all she does. She does. She says nobody's going to force her to eat when she doesn't want to eat, and she only fasts. But I say to her, you need to think about eating a little healthier as well, because what you're eating isn't healthy. But she's like, you know what? I'm fine. I'm good. I just fast, So she fasts. She eats whatever she wants. I was horrified when I heard what she eats, but she eats whatever she likes, but only in the fasting window. And she's lost 56 kilos. Now, how do I go and say to her, you should not be eating that? I mean, 56 kilos outweighs my preaching.
That's incredible, and it's obviously working for her. But it's interesting. You said people are scared when they hear the word fasting, because they in their mind it has to be intentional withholding of food, but it comes
Yes.
so naturally. I remember Dr. Jason Fung was
Yeah.
talking about fasting, and he said if you have your morning meal, whatever, 8 o'clock before going to work, you got so busy at work that you just didn't eat, and you came back home and you had a family dinner. Those 8 hours in between, you were fasting, and that's so any
And
period
if you
of
fell
not eating.
asleep, and if you fell asleep at 8 o'clock at night and you woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you fasted for 11 hours.
Exactly. I'm really happy that you mentioned the name of the title of your new book, Keto and Fasting, because my type 1 diabetes group on Facebook is called Keto and Fasting with type 1
Oh my
diabetes.
goodness, I didn't know that.
So keto and fasting with type 1 diabetes. And of course, we are called low carbon fasting. I think, both low carbon fasting, if you can combine them together, you'll get the most health benefits beyond this
Absolutely.
world. But
Absolutely.
either one of them works. I mean, people just don't want to do any fasting. They want to have their 3 meals. And I still see people improving their health with 3 meals per day, solid meals, but they are low carbohydrate meals. And I see people like the example you gave who don't want to change their diet, but they're just eating one meal a day or two at most and fasting. So, but if you combine the both of them, my goodness, I cannot tell you how
that's the sweet spot. Yeah.
Your health will improve tremendously. So what I will do is I will put this is for my listeners, Rita's links, the book, so where you can purchase the book will be below in the description. Also, her Facebook group link will be below, so you'll be welcome to join and learn the Banting way of eating.
And people should go and even if you just go have a look at the group, go and look at the inspiration that you will feel simply by seeing how people's lives have dramatically changed by doing one little thing, cutting their carbs. Yeah. Not cutting them out, just cutting them, and it is, I sent you some photos. I mean, those people are unbelievable. I mean, and those are quite old photos that I had on my phone, and that people should go and have a look. I mean, there are such inspirational stories, people that have just changed their lives, had children, done all those things that they never thought was possible, and simply by changing their way of eating. And in Africa, it's difficult, eh? If you think about it, in Africa, it's difficult because everybody eats maize.
Right.
Yeah, it's when people when people just say, I just cut out some maize and look at the change that it's made, and I mean, it's incredible. I'm very proud of what we've achieved.
That's incredible. Rita, let's share some success stories from your groups. And what I will do is I'll put some photos in the background so you can actually see people's transformations. And we're not just talking about weight loss. We're talking about health gain too. Let's cover some success stories from your group.
Karen, I can't remember how much weight she lost, but she lost a huge amount of weight. But Karen had actually been told that she doesn't have long to live because she was so unhealthy, so metabolically unhealthy, that they said, go what, Karen, just we don't have much hope for you. And she lost all that weight. She started training. She started walking. She got her life back. She could play with her grandchildren. She could do all of those things that she couldn't do for such a long time because she was morbidly obese. So and she started eating clean, and she cut the carbs, and I don't know, I think Karen must have lost close to 100 kilos, to be honest. I don't know how much that is in pounds. We don't do pounds in South Africa. But the true success stories for me, and the most inspirational ones, are the ones of the ladies that have got PCOS, that were told that they will never have children. So at one stage of the group, we had so many people getting pregnant and having children that they were saying that they're going to ask Professor Noakes to pay their maintenance because
he's responsible for their pregnancies.
Another Banting baby. And Hlumi, I think, was married for about 10 or 11 years, and they've tried very hard to have a child. But Hlumi had severe PCOS, and she was actually told she would never have a child. And then she joined our group, and we encouraged her, and we gave her meal plans, and we did what we had to do to get Hlumi back to health. And she lost, I mean, she joined the group not because she heard that it was great for PCOS, but because she wanted to lose weight because she was, one of the side effects of PCOS is weight gain. So she was quite large, and then she started, and within a year of banting, she had a baby. I mean, her little boy, and then 2 years later, she had a little girl, and they are the most beautiful children that you can imagine. And she's not the only one. There are so many ladies on our group that had no hope of having a child. And they were told by their doctors and their gynecologists that there just wasn't any way that they'd ever have children. And they've got children. And it is the most heartwarming thing to see these babies. Those of us that simply looked at our husbands and felt pregnant don't know what it's like to really want a child. And so yeah, I'm very proud of that. That to me makes me it's like I said to you, I coach people. I don't charge them. I don't, because those stories are payment enough.
That's absolutely wonderful. I mean, this is amazing that you are devoting so much of your knowledge and time to genuinely helping people without any compensation. There are very few coaches who are doing that. So hats off to you. Thank you.
I've never ever thought of even charging anyone. I'm very blessed, I've got, there's so many things in life that are more important than money. There are far more important things. And, people will send me messages and say to me, oh, I really need help. And then I'll guide them through it. I'm not a stalker. I don't stalk people and get on their case every day, because I find that if you do that, people just get annoyed. So I'll check in with them once a month, and I've actually got a few people that I'm coaching at the moment, and they've all started about 3 months ago. All of them have lost 14 kilos. Can you believe it? It's just, I'm like, you people are having me on, but it's all different people that don't know each other. So yeah, so my one friend, she was at school with me. Gosh, when Noah built the ark. Anyway, she was at school with me, and she came and saw me, and she said to me, "I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I just keep on gaining weight." So I said to her, "Well, you're actually insulin resistant, because I can see it I can just see it from your stomach. I can see it from this face and everything." And it took a bit of chatting to her. And then I just said to her, you know what? Here you go. Here are the tools if you want to. So I spoke to her recently. I said, how much weight have you lost? So she said, no, she hasn't climbed on the scale, but she's 3 dress sizes down. So I said, well, I can tell you that's quite a bit of weight, that's quite a bit of weight. And, she just looks so much younger and healthier, and she's very, very, very happy. So I mean, honestly, if I work out a meal plan and I send it to you, what does it cost me? It's not costing me anything.
Yeah.
I'm retired. What else have I got to do? You know what I can send to you? I can send to you all the resources that I give to our guide, our lists, our food list, just sort of like frequently asked questions, the tips. And what I'll do is I'll send you a whole lot of meal plans that you can share with your members. It just makes life so much easier. And like I always say to people, it's just a guideline. If you don't have something that I eat in my country, replace the protein with another protein.
Exactly.
Or if you're allergic to something, replace it. So it's just a guideline, but it's visually to see, okay, if I have 100 grams of cabbage, oh, wait, that's only like 5 grams of carbs. So wait, I can eat a lot more than I thought, so that's what also helps when you have a meal plan, when you see, oh my goodness, is that only so many carbs? You didn't know. So I'll send you a few of those, a couple, so that you can distribute those. if you like.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Rita. I just remember the funny anecdote. I put on, I think it was Facebook, so it was a few years ago. I put a picture of my meal, and it was chicken in there with, I believe, either broccoli or asparagus, one of those. And I was telling people, hey, make this meal and see how, satiating it will feel to you. But of course, if you don't like chicken, you can have fish instead. If you don't like fish, you can have lamb. You don't like lamb, have beef instead, or whatever. And as for the asparagus or broccoli, hey, you can have cauliflower, you can have a whole list of. So I said, please show me what you cooked. And everyone came with a completely different meal. But I said, but they started joking, saying, oh, I made your meal and look what it looks like. And it's obviously, it's the same principle. You're choosing low carbohydrate vegetables, high fiber vegetables, and your choice of protein.
Absolutely.
What it is.
I would say just start with the protein. Always start with the fat and the protein, and then go on to everything else. And yeah, you know what we also have a lot of, people are human, so they'll come on and they say, oh, I cheated. What am I going to do? And then I'm like, well, just don't cheat with the next bite of food. Just, you're human. Stumbling is not falling. Just don't stop living this lifestyle because of one transgression. Just, it's fine. We all human. We all we all make a mistake. It's fine. You didn't cheat. You just ate off plan. And so that sort of like calms people a lot. And yeah, I just feel that it's so important to, you've got a group, so it's very important to encourage and to assist and to have people that understand what you're going through, and to just have the wisdom of the crowds as well, instead of getting all this information from your dietitian. Just everybody trusts their next door neighbor or their friend a lot more than they trust the dietitian. That's so yeah, I think these groups are vitally important. Your group and my group and every other group on Facebook that's community based and that worries about the health of people. I think that they are incredibly important.
And those support groups, for a lot of people, are the only, well, this is where they're getting their support from, because they're not being supported. Well, I don't know about South Africa, but they're not getting support from their diabetologist or the classically trained dietitian. They're all shocked. Oh, no, you're not eating your whole grains. Well, so the community groups are really vital for success.
Yes, they are. They're extremely important. I think they just, and when you look at somebody that is in a group with you and you can see that they've achieved success, it's much better than seeing some woman from America. If you're living in South Africa, seeing some woman in America that lost weight and you just think it's unachievable. But if it's somebody that looks like you and talks like you and lives like you, then it's so much easier to convince people that this lifestyle is sustainable. Yeah, I just I'm very proud of the group that we've created, the ethos that we've got, the vibe that we've got. It's extremely busy. You can imagine with so many people on it, it's extremely busy. And people interact and they've gotten to know each other and they've become friends, and it's fantastic. It's fabulous. I must say that's one good thing about Facebook.
2.3 million members is beyond my imagination, certainly. So that's
No. Do you know how many members I wanted when I started? I thought if I could just get to 10,000. Who can imagine 10,000 people on a group? And then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then 5 years ago, was it 5 years ago? Yeah. Facebook shut us down. They took our group off the internet. They deplatformed us and they shut our group down. And then with a lot of begging and pleading and all kinds of stuff, they eventually gave us the group back. But by that time, but when they gave us the group back, we'd lost 300,000 members.
What were their reasons?
Honestly,
What were their reasons? What happened?
you know what, till this day, I don't know. I don't know, but I know that Greg Glassman, the guy that had a CrossFit, he actually removed his company off Facebook and Instagram because they shut down my group, because he just felt that he thought that that Facebook probably realized that this was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I don't believe in all those conspiracy theories. I don't like, things that I don't have proof of. But who knows? Who knows? But they did shut us down, and but it's fantastic that they allowed us back, which is very unusual. They normally, when you're gone for good. But the only problem was when they actually gave us the group back, we'd lost 300,000 members overnight, just like that. And that was on the 12th of May, 5 years ago, that they did that to us. Do you know what a sick feeling we felt? I mean, everybody was like, the members were devastated. So, it was, but as I say, we got it back, and we grew substantially after that.
That's amazing. So the group link will be below as well. For my viewers, Rita talked about this lady who had PCOS, but she lost weight and she felt pregnant. I'll put my interview link with Maria Emmerich, because Maria also had PCOS, and weight gain was one of the side effects of, obviously, and she genuinely could not have a baby. So she ended up adopting two beautiful boys from I believe Ethiopia. So I'll put my interview link below as well. And also my interview with Dr. Andrea Salcedo, who clearly explained what causes PCOS. And she did say it doesn't exist without hyperinsulinemia. So hyperinsulinemia, high levels of insulin, is the underlying cause of PCOS. So those two video links will be below. Check them out, because they're obviously relevant to our discussion. Rita, so what, when people say, but I miss, like, I can't do without like bread, or without well, I mean, I don't know what that would be in South Africa, but I can't do without pasta and all fruits, all those fruits I can't do without. In fact, a lot of people find themselves adjusted to new tastes, and they find that they actually can very happily do without.
Yeah,
some struggle. So
they do.
How do you approach? Some struggle because now we know of underlying food addiction. So let's talk about the food addictions sort of part.
I think it's such an important subject to discuss, because there's nothing that if you're an alcoholic, okay, there's social stigma that goes with that. If you're a drug addict, exactly the same thing. Like, socially it's unacceptable, but eating can't be unacceptable because we all eat. So you just have these people that have these incredible addictions to food, and quite a few of them tell me that they are addicted to sugar. and I'll say to them, so do you eat sugar out of the sugar bowl? And they're like, no. And I'm like, so you're not addicted to sugar, you're addicted to fat and sugar. So carbs and fat combined. And then they get quite confused and they say, yeah, no, I'm not addicted to the sugar, I'm addicted to the combination. And it creates that sweet spot in your brain, that blissful feeling. And it's a very, very difficult thing. Fortunately, like I said, in South Africa, we took this banting thing seriously. We took it very seriously. There are companies here that are making breads that you really cannot tell me that that's not the same as normal bread. It is just so, it's not quite, but it's close, So we'll encourage, and so many people say, oh, I'm craving. And then I'll say to them, just always make sure that you're not hungry. Because if you're not hungry, you can't crave. So increase your fat, eat more with each meal, because we have been brainwashed into thinking that we are greedy and that we are lazy, because they tell you to eat less and exercise more. So I say to them, ensure that you eat enough at every meal, that you are brought to satiety, that you are full. If you feel like you're craving, just have maybe some olives, or have or some avocado, something with high fat, so that it negates those cravings. The example I always give is when I was younger, before I was banting, I walked into a store and they were baking bread, immediately I wanted bread. But because I'm never hungry now, I don't even smell the bread anymore. I don't smell it because I'm not hungry. But if you're not eating enough food to get you through the fasting period or whatever, if you're not eating enough food, you will definitely get cravings, because your brain suddenly your senses, suddenly start smelling things and wanting things. But I find that when people start increasing their fats, their cravings reduce.
There's the thirst element as well. Some people find that they're actually not hungry, they're just thirsty.
That's the other thing. Yeah. Our brain can't tell the difference between hunger and thirst. That just knows you need something. So quite often I say to people, you know what you should do before you have a meal? Have a glass of water, but don't sip it. Drink it down and wait a few minutes. If you're still hungry after 10 minutes, go and eat. If you've forgotten that you were hungry, then you weren't hungry, then you were thirsty. So there is that. I also find that people force themselves to drink water. We always just advocate for drinking to thirst. But are you hungry or are you thirsty? First, decide which is. Yeah. So we've got lots of wonderful products here. We've got a company that's called We Love Low Carb, and they make sourdough breads. They make all kinds of breads. They even make hot cross buns at Easter without the raisins. So they even make those. So they make all kinds of bread products. They're not cheap. They're expensive, because obviously nut flours aren't cheap.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, at first I think it's definitely a transition, and it takes people time. But as soon as they start seeing results, it's almost like they revitalized and they really want to go for this. They really want to stay with this lifestyle. So nothing tastes as good as losing 3 dress sizes, eh?
Nothing tastes as good as good health.
Yeah. And when people tell me this lifestyle is expensive, I said, have you checked your medical bills? That's a lot more expensive.
I completely agree. But our taste buds do adjust, and our taste buds change when we just stick to healthy foods. I was walking at a grocery store with a friend, And of course, we were walking by the donuts and whatever, the aisle of all these sweet foods, tarts and whatever they just baked. And she said, "Oh, that sweet smell." I didn't react because in my mind, all I could smell was like junk smell. That to me was the smell of diabetes. So I'm
Yeah.
just so repulsed by it. But there would have been a time where I would have thought just like her, oh, freshly baked donuts. It was not appealing to me anymore. I smelled
No.
diabetes while she smelled
And
something
you know what
beautiful.
I find is that I can smell, my sense of smell has definitely improved as well. And my taste buds have also improved. But what I smell when I walk past those donuts, I smell stale oil. You know that?
Yes.
Because you know that they haven't baked those things, they haven't cooked those things in fresh oil. I actually smell that. It's like when you go into some of these fast food places, I can actually smell the dirty oil in the fryers. It revolts me. And um, so it's so weird how your whole view on food. And so I must confess, my grandchildren love bread, and so occasionally I'll bake them bread, but I bake sourdough, which I will ferment for like 48 hours. So I'll ferment the sourdough for them because I know that it's better for them with the gluten and all of that. So I will do that. I don't mind as long as I know what's inside that bread. I'm
Mhm.
not getting it from some store that I don't know what they've added, or they've got that concoction that they make bread with. I don't even think it's real food. So I'll do that. I'll make bread for my fermented sourdough. And so it's just such a difficult thing. Yeah, I've got 4 children. I'm one of 6 children. I'm Portuguese. We came to South Africa when I was a baby. So we the way I grew up eating was very different to my peers. There's some South African foods that I'd never eaten. My mother would say, "You can't eat that." No, that's just wrong, because she wasn't used to it. So I grew up eating a Mediterranean diet, and we were all painfully thin. I mean, I'm talking about, I think that when I finished school, I weighed something like 43 kilos soaking wet. I mean, I was tiny. But as life continued, and you're talking about the diabetes, yes, you start eating absolute junk, like, because you go to a party, or, like, it's almost peer pressure to eat all of this stuff. And I became insulin resistant, and then I just got bigger and bigger and I wasn't eating a lot. It wasn't the amount of food I was eating.
Yeah,
It was what I was eating.
it was the wrong food.
It was the wrong food for me. So, I get quite angry people with me sometimes. Oh, how can you say this is bad? I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm saying that it's bad for me. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that. I don't demonize all carbs. I demonize sugar because I don't think sugar is good, but I don't demonize all carbs. If you are metabolically healthy, you can have your bread, you can have your potatoes, you can have your rice, you can have your pasta. If you are metabolically healthy, we can't demonize um, a way of eating, because I don't eat like that, because I don't want people demonizing the way I eat. So, I've got to give them the same respect. So, I mean, there are people that are athletes, and they run a lot, and they do Ironman, and I'm not that. I'm this your sedentary type of person. So there are people that do all of that. They can have increased carbs because they're burning it off. I'm not going to demonize them. They are healthy, they're fit, they're all of those things. But if you are compromised, you need to take that into account, that you cannot eat certain foods, not because they're bad, but they are bad for you.
I completely agree. In fact, it's one of the things that really caught my eye in your biography when you said one of the first messages we need to get through to people is that they are metabolically compromised.
Yes.
So that has to be the motivating factor because they are metabolically compromised. They have to eat in a different way than their peers, perhaps. I think it's a very important message, very important.
Yeah, I was saying to somebody recently, we were talking about she's metabolically compromised, but not diabetic yet. Okay, so she's pre-diabetic. And then she's like, she said to me, "Oh, but how can it be bad?" So I said, "But you know what? It's not that it's bad, it's just bad for you." And she said, "Oh, I could never do that." So I said, "But if you became diabetic tomorrow, would you change your way of eating?" "Oh, yeah." Then I would just say, "But so why did you prevent it?" You know, prevention, 1 ounce of prevention is better than cure. So, and it's just to explain to people that, you know what, I'm not saying that you eat in a bad way. I'm not judging you.
Mm.
I'm not judging you, and I'm not judging your lifestyle. I'm just giving you the tools to improve your lifestyle, to improve yourself, and to be healthier. And whether you want to take that advice or not, that is, you know, I've been given lots of advice, especially by my sainted mother that's in heaven. I was given lots of advice that I didn't take. I was always wrong. She was always right, but I didn't take that advice. But advice is like a gift. You can choose to keep it and use it, or you can re-gift it or do whatever you want to do with it. But, you know, I'm very different to a lot of people in the low carb community that I see on X, Twitter, whatever it is, where they have serious fights with people about their lifestyle. And I'm thinking, why alienate anyone? You want people to learn, and nobody that feels attacked is going to learn. Let's rather just show kindness and patience and say, this is what's worked for me. I'm sure it will work for you if you are willing to try it. But if you're not willing to try it, I'm not going to judge you.
Mm-hmm.
So if we just approach everybody with a bit of kindness and a bit of empathy and a bit of tolerance, then we can all get on, you know. We can all get on. And if somebody is beating me over the head, I'm not going to listen to them. I'd rather, if somebody is kind to me and understanding, then I'll listen to them.
Rita Venter, with that positive message, we're going to wrap this up. This was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for
I just want to give you a final message that I always tell my members. You should bant, not because you hate your body, but because you love it.
Absolutely. Wonderful. We'll put that in writing on the screen too. Thank you so much, Rita. You have a wonderful evening. Is it evening there now?
Evening, yes, it's 5:30, so it's evening. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate this, and thank you for your time and the privilege of speaking to you. I'm really touched that you got into contact with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Bye for now.